Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who's going to be as positive as he can be about the new project For All the Dogs by Drake. It is difficult. Positivity with Drake. He does attract a lot of negativity, and part of the reason is that you can't be always positive. There's always good and bad with Drake. And as I'm going to try to contextualize in this video, it's all about expectations. We have to, or we should, learn how to take the so much good and extract it from the so much bad to have a great experience with a truly great artist. And it's all about expectations. And I'll give you an example, okay? So I heard the song 8 a.m. in Charlotte the day before the album released. And I heard Conductor. Like, Conductor, we have a problem. You know, Conductor Williams is one of my favorite producers right now, a great underground rap producer. And so in my mind, I thought, oh my God, is Drake going to do this? Is Drake going to get all of the great underground producers and make like a full-on rap album? Is that what For All the Dogs means? Like, it's going to be for just all the hardcore rap fans? Is he finally going to be abandoning all the kind of like sing-songy, sang-songy stuff? Is he going to get, you know, Danny LaFleur, Nicholas Craven, and Camouflage Monk, and Messiah Music, and they're all going to be on there working with Drake, and it's going to be this awesome crossover, this and that. The album drops at midnight, and I check the producer list. It's 40. It's Boy Wonder. It's all the same people with one track produced by Conductor Williams. So the big thing I was expecting, you know, like the way that Honestly Nevermind was a huge leap into house music, I was expecting this was going to be some kind of hardcore awesome rap album, and it wasn't that. And so I was disappointed. Now I listened to the whole album in that context, and I was disappointed, but it's not really fair. And this made me realize something. When he tried to do something wildly different, which was Honestly Nevermind, everybody clowned on him and said it was garbage. So we have communicated, not me. Personally, I thought Honestly Nevermind was awesome. It's a great project. It's a great album. It's a great Drake album. It's a great house album. It is a great album. It is a great piece of art. Check out my review if you don't agree with me yet. Maybe I can convince you there. But he is above everything else a business. You know, much like Jay-Z, he's not a businessman, he's a businessman. And the way to think of him is not so much as a producer of music, but as something similar to EA Sports. So if you're at all familiar with video games, you should know EA Sports, it's in the game, has a series of video games that it makes. And every year they release a new version of the exact same goddamn game. Now, they make some changes, you know. I loved NHL 96. I loved Madden 95. This is the last Madden that I bought, Madden 99. I'm pretty sure it's changed since then. And it's, although I did buy this, I did buy FIFA 24 because I've never played a FIFA game before. So this was brand new to me. But for people who've been playing this year after year, it's like the exact same thing. I just want to be able to play as Chancel Mbemba and Ndiaye. But what happens is that like he releases these albums and they're just small variations to the original formula, much like Madden, much like 2K, where he has a formula, you know, sing-songy rap songs for women and rap songs for dudes and mixtures of both. And I'll get into what the formula is as we go on. And then there are some weaknesses to the albums. But the thing that's far out is that the weaknesses in Madden, and I actually just recently watched a video, I forget, it was called like The Sad Decline of the Madden franchise. It was describing how the weaknesses in Madden 24 are all market weaknesses, okay? So it's all that the best way to make money is to offer a worse product and make people pay for the services you used to give them for free. In the same way, with Drake, the number one problem with his albums is bloat, is just too many songs. And that is 100% a market force. He knows that you are going to press play and listen, and if there's 23 songs on there, you are going to listen to 23 songs. And he is going to get a fraction of a penny for every time you listen to each 23 songs. And if he released an album with 12 songs, then he is getting money for 12 songs. It is a market effect. He is giving you a worse product intentionally to maximize his profit, which is precisely what EA Sports does with its sports franchise. But these games rule. Okay? I never played FIFA before. I'm learning how to do precision passes and building teams and coach manager and 4-4-2 and I'm learning all this stuff. It's fascinating. I learned how football works by playing Madden. You know, these games are amazing. Drake is amazing. He releases great product. But we just have to set our expectations that what he's releasing is not a new piece of art. He tried that with Honestly Nevermind and we told him no. We want Drake 23, Drake 24, Drake 25, Drake 25 Collector's Edition with the DLC, okay? That's what we're looking for. And that's how I think we should set our expectations. Now, going further on this theme of expectations, I have a list here of 11 things we need to expect from a Drake album, okay? Number 1, too long, okay? Steering wheel flies right off. The albums are always too long. It's punishing. When I start to review a Drake album, it is an ordeal. Do you understand me? Like I'm sitting there and I look at the track list and I see it's 23 songs and it's an hour and a half. How am I going to find enough time to review this promptly? How am I going to wade my way through? And you're going to see, I'm actually only going to really review about a quarter of the songs here. That's just part of the package. Okay, the same way that microtransactions are on here, okay? If you want to play as Mbappe, you have to be ready to pay. All right? If you want to enjoy a Drake album, you have to be ready to listen to at least 10 songs that have no business being on a major album. The second thing you have to expect are great rhymes. He has a lot of great rhymes and a lot of great flows. He is a good rapper, okay? And maybe you're a Drake hater and you refuse that fact. That's okay. Just you're a hater. He is a great rapper with great rhymes. He's also a corny rapper with corny rhymes. That's the third thing to expect. Tied in with all this is his ability to ride trends, okay? So he rides trends, musical trends. He knows how to find them. That's the fourth thing you expect. The fifth thing is attached to the trend riding where he's a vampire. He sees who's hot, he sees who's popular, and he sucks their blood and says, oh, everyone likes Bad Bunny now? Here's Bad Bunny. Okay? Oh, everyone liked 2 Chainz before? Here's 2 Chainz. Oh, everyone likes this? I'm going to give you this. Okay? But I don't want to be purely cynical because he also spotlights genres. He also does things that help to bring attention to these lesser known artists. Not Bad Bunny, obviously, but say Tizo Touchdown, is an artist who's pretty well known, but not as well known as Drake. He's giving him a lot of shine. We'll discuss soon here. He does a lot of work to popularize and explain the value of Houston rap, okay? And maybe you're a hater and you're saying, how dare you say that? He's just a vampire. He's more than that. He's more than just a vampire. He actually feeds the art that he tries to drain dry, okay? Now, my sixth thing is that he'll often use dated slang, and that's just funny. I think if you listen to Drake albums over the years, it'll be like listening to just like what was the hot slang at the time they released the album. So that's the seventh thing. Eighth thing, just misogynist rants. Just, all right, I get it. I get it. And that all kind of ties into the ninth thing, which is the number one thing about Drake. It's just that he's a weirdo. He's just a weird guy. He is not... He often feels like he is an alien trying to imitate a human being, okay? And he doesn't quite know how to relate to people. He knows that people love him, love his music, love what he does, but he doesn't quite understand why or what they're doing. Tied into this is the 10th thing that I expect, which is just discussion of being hated. And this is the thing that I think is the biggest danger for Drake. I don't see Drake hate. I don't. I see Drake indifference. That's what there is now. There's just Drake indifference. Just, okay, he released another album. Okay. There's the good song. Okay, skip. There's a good song. Skip. Okay. That's his biggest. So, in the video that he had for that song I like so much, it says hate survivor, which is first of all weird because like people who survive hate are like people who survive hate crimes. So maybe don't take that as your identity. But more than that, he's becoming an indifferent survivor. And then finally that ties into the 11th thing. Just you're going to get some kind of cultural appropriation, whether or not it's an accent, whether or not it's a rap style, maybe it's both, maybe it's vocabulary. That weirdo inhuman thing, that alien thing about Drake is that he doesn't you don't know what's actually at the center, right? What is at the center of Drake? What is the soul of Drake? Is there? I mean, obviously there's a soul. I'm not gonna deny someone's spiritual existence, but is that soul a rapper, a singer, a biter, a hater, a genius, a businessman, a woman lover, a woman hater? Like, what is that at the bottom? And often it'll just be like, yeah, I'm Jamaican now. Yeah, I'm from Houston now. Yeah, I'm from Atlanta now. Yeah, I'm Dominican, which we'll get into in this album. Okay? So once we get those 11 things in our head, okay? So this is the best way to listen to a rap album. Number one, a Drake album. Understand that it's Drake 24, Drake 23, okay? It's just a new version of something with some updates, you know? Much like there's new players on new teams, okay? So whatever, Messi's on Miami now, he's not on PSG. The same way it's like, oh, Tizo Touchdown's on this one. Oh, okay, you know, like you can tell who's hot by who's appearing on Drake albums now, you know? And then you have to accept the 11 things. Too long, great rhymes, bad rhymes, trend riding, vampire, spotlighting genres, dated slang, misogynist rants, he's a weirdo alien, talks a lot about hate but should really be fearing indifference and cultural appropriation. And with all that, I'm finally ready to actually review the album. Before I do, I'd like to remind you, if you type in the letters AVAA, which stands for awesome video as always, I will always give the heart on your comment. It's just a way for you to engage with me in a way that you might like. You can smash the like bucket, please. Please, subscribe. I've been plateauing with my subscriptions, so if you like my stuff at all, this is my mug. You can buy my mug if you want. I'm trying to get those racks. I'm trying to build a college fund for my baby. So that's how you can engage with me if you like. So let's go through the album. What I've done is this. I'm going to basically tell you what are the skips and what are the keeps. Because what I ended up doing was I listened to the album for the first time. It took me, 2 sessions. I'm at the gym and on the elliptical. I feel like I'm just going to die because I'm like on there for an hour and a half and I'm listening to this album. And it can just be just so tiring. That's the problem. It could be so tiring. Partly because a lot of a joke I made a few years ago is that Drake is music that you listen is the soundtrack of a group of friends sitting around looking at their phone, not talking to each other. And to a certain extent, it's true. He does create a lot of stuff for the background, which is cool. There's no shame in making background music or making music that is partly intended to be in the background. But when you're a music critic, when you're trying to really sit there and understand what he's saying and what he's doing, what's happening in the production, it gets exhausting. So I made a playlist after the first listen. The playlist has 12 songs, 40 minutes long, as opposed to 23 songs and an hour and a half. So I'll tell you the skips, I'll tell you the keeps. You tell me in the comments which ones do you agree with. We're starting off with a skip. Virginia Beach, fade-in guitar, cool kind of pitched up voice sample, but then just I could have treated you better. Basically, like the whole song is like, I could have treated you better. Not. That's essentially what the whole thing is. Trilling trap hi-hats, it's fine. Then it's like social climbing. I don't know what the message is here. He has this sort of like fake insouciance, and then he just starts singing. And then he just has a whole verse about like women the person he's talking to being on her period. And it's just, hey, rap artists, just if you can't like do that really well in a really interesting way, just don't do it. You're really doing a disservice. Track 2, Amen, featuring Tizo Touchdown, is another skip. Cool kind of cut off voice sample. I don't mind Tizo. His singing's good. It's sort of a gospel thing. We're still living in the world that was created. We're still living in the world that was created by Donda. Okay, I know. Kanye is no longer with us. In principle, Drake won the CLB Donda fight because Drake is still making albums and he's not canceled. Except a lot of songs on this album feel like they're trying to sound like Donda. I do like his verse on here. It's cool, kind of an exasperated flow, Drake's verse on here, but in general, the song's pretty forgettable. I do like the Mercedes-Benz of Beaumont at the end there. That's kind of funny. Next song, Calling for You, is another skip. Kind of a drill beat on here, some cool West Side synthesizers at a certain point. There's this whole weird thing of this super entitled woman talking in the middle, complaining about what the personal chef is making her. And then 21 comes on. I can't take him seriously anymore. Like, who's that guy? There's some guy on YouTube, I'll include it in the description, who does this impersonation of 21 Savage. It's like KY from Virginia, something like that. It's some kind of Kentucky or Virginia, something or other. And it's it's sort of like the same way that like Dana Carvey ruined George Bush for me, senior. Like I can only think of that guy. And there's some weird, very sketchy abortion lyrics. It's just not great. But we get to the first track that I think is worth saving, is worth adding to your playlist of For All the Dogs, or in my case, for almost a little over half of the dogs, Fear of Heights. And this is cool that I like this song because this isn't the kind of Drake I generally like in the beginning. He sounds asleep. He does a lot of these jokes about the word auntie and auntie and going to les Antilles, which is, the Antilles, the French way of pronouncing that. And the chorus has this, I know you a cat, but can your pussy do the dog? I don't know. I don't know if that's a Rufus Thomas reference. It feels like it isn't. But it's a cheesy line, but there's like a little bark in there. And I do have two dogs, as you probably know, Bo and Toby. I'll try and remember to show you them at the end for all the dogs. And they do bark every time I listen to this album. So, I like this song. I like the way that the singing and the rapping goes together. I like how it's almost kind of screamo. At times the album verges into the sort of Playboi Carti, avant-garde nature of whatever's happening with some very aggressive rap stuff. And I think Drake works really well on that. I think he works well in that zone. I find him more interesting rapping over Carti type beats than rapping over drill beats. Maybe that's just me. You can tell me in the comments if you agree. Perfect example of cheesy and fine lyrics from Drake. How can you keep it a buck if you ain't got no bucks? Just... Sometimes Drake writes lyrics and you go, oh man, he has to have ghostwriters writing that. And sometimes he writes lyrics and you're like, maybe his ghostwriter is Kanye, because this is a endearingly corny lyric. Then the next song is another ad, Daylight. Now it starts off with a quote from Tony Montana, say hello to the bad guy or goodbye to the bad guy. What the hell, man? Who gave him the green light for this? Didn't Public Enemy have the exact same quote in 1988 or 1989? I mean, how many times has the say hello to the bad guy, how many times has, okay, I just misquoted, but how many times has that quote been used? Anyways, this is more of that kind of like, how is he pronouncing things? He said, we standing on bitterness, and, he's saying business, but bitterness. It's all this kind of weird, like, when does he get a pass? We clumsy as fuck. We dropping N-words like Lenny Kravitz show. We rocking N-words like tennis indoors. We squashing N-words like combo number one. We whopping N-words. I like that. I like that line. Combo number one. There's a lot of people doing combo jokes still, but it's fine. Nice like piano notes and some oohs in the back. Then there's this like great verse at the end from his son Adonis. Where. Thanks to Pusha T, we know of Adonis's existence. I don't know if Drake has written him a thank you letter, but obviously it does humanize Drake a lot that he has a child who he cares for, at least in some way. And Adonis has like the best verse on the album. I don't know if it's the best verse on the album, but it's a really good verse. And the reason that it's good is that it's loose. Like he's just sort of talking. It's a lot like Drake. He's not saying anything. I like it when you like it. And it seems to be a little bit about his dad, a little bit about him. I don't really like the idea of kids. I mean, don't release an album. Don't make him famous. The best thing for Adonis would be relative anonymity for him personally. But, there's a looseness and an easiness to it, especially over this beat. It's like a real drum beat. Like, I'm not saying I want a full Adonis album, but it is nice that he's not like trying to be his dad. He's rapping like the way that a kid would rap. Then we get 3 tracks in a row. All goes together. 4, 5, 6. Why didn't he start the album here? It's okay. He didn't start the album there because it is a financial necessity. And he's not alone. A lot of people depend on Drake. A lot of people at Universal, Def Jam, whatever. A lot of people depend on money from Drake. There's an entire ecosystem of people who make money on you listening to too many Drake songs, okay? So first-person shooter, this is with J. Cole. And J. Cole really... Okay, so the whole thing is based on this concept of, like, who's the GOAT? And I guess it's sort of based on the idea that, like, maybe, that they're the GOAT. I don't think either of them is in the conversation. I guess J. Cole is in the conversation. I guess if we're like talking about like the greatest like of like right now, but like greatest of all time. I mean, I don't know his. I do not know his catalog as well as I should, but I'm not sure. Anyways, but I do. I mean, J. Cole does. Okay, fine. I guess J. Cole's verse is better than Adonis's. So I guess for the best verses on this album, I'm gonna go J. Cole, Adonis. Those are the top two. A lot of N's, debating my numeral, not three, not the two. I'm the UNO, yeah, numero uno. Me and Drizzy, this ish like the Super Bowl. And this whole idea of like the Super Bowl. And I like this idea of like the two best teams. I like the idea that they're competing against each other, that they're sort of like together celebrating their excellence while also competing, because don't forget, part of what makes rap so great is that it's competitive art. I'm just going to go on a little rant here. If you're one of those people who is kind of a arms folded, hip hop used to be good kind of thing, I hate to tell you, okay, but Drake is better than Billy Woods. Drake is better than Billy Woods in the context of rap being a competitive art, and the only way to determine success in a competition is by sales. Okay? He's not a better artist, he's not a better lyricist, he's not a better beat chooser, he's not better by any artistic metric. But if we accept the basic premise of rap music, which is success is part of the art, then that is the way that Drake is the GOAT. Okay? And Rakim is not in the discussion. Okay? Nas is not in the discussion in that way. Okay? I know I just pissed you off. It's okay. Biz Markie is not in the discussion. Okay? Like, it's a fascinating argument. And so it's fun because obviously Cole isn't in the argument in terms of sales, right? So having two different sides, like someone who's like a rapper's rapper and someone who is a CEO's rapper, is quite interesting. And Drake is trying hard here, you know. Big as the what, big as the what, big as the Super Bowl, but the difference is it's just two guys playing shit they did in the studio. Usually send their verses back to me and they terrible, just like a 2-year-old. It's nice, and just who the GOAT, who the GOAT, who the GOAT, asking over and over again. And then Cole just has this whole verse about who's the hardest MC, K. Aubrey or me. Hardest, I mean... Anyways, we like the big three star the league, but right now I feel like Muhammad Ali. There's an interesting erasure of Kanye happening here, where obviously Kanye is not a top 50 rapper as far as MCs go, but as far as like a GOAT of rap, like the greatest artist of all time, he is, if not number one, number two, or number three, despite his many, many personal failings and reprehensible beliefs and actions. But anyways, it's... I'm going off here. So I like this verse a lot from J. Cole. It is sort of like unfair. I almost think like Drake, like, dude, don't do this. Like, don't bring like a real rapper onto your album, because it just reminds people like you're just not it. Rhyming with me is the biggest mistake. The Spider-Man meme is me looking at Drake. You know, but it's like it's Drake's mistake as well. And then J. Cole switches up his flow entirely over the same beat. When I show up, it's a motion picture blockbuster. The GOAT with the golden pin, the top toucher, the spot rusher sprayed his whole shit up. The crop duster. My daughter was like, "Doesn't crop duster just mean farting in the halls in high school?" No, that's not the original meaning. It's just great, you know. It's this great verse, and then there's like a beat change, and it felt to me like Drake heard the whole thing and was like, "Oh, okay, I got schooled super hard." He even said, "That wasn't cool of Jay to directly tell me that I made a mistake in having him in the same verse." Sorry for the lighting getting all weird. I use natural lighting, and it's very like cloudy and sunny outside, so saves electricity. So he comes back. Drake comes back and has this whole verse. I search one name and end up seeing 20 tings. Nadine, Christine, Justine, Kathleen, Charlene, Pauline, Claudine. Man, I pack him in the phone like sardines. And it's funny because it reminds me both of the DMX lyric where he talks about all the women that he's with, and also reminds me of the funniest scene from the movie Ted. If you haven't seen it. White trash girl names. Go. And this is where he does maybe his best rich flex, where he's flexing on somebody for taking pictures in a Gulfstream, because he doesn't have a Gulfstream, he has a 747, so he's so rich he just flies around like in a full-size Boeing as opposed to a Gulfstream jet, and you should look down on people who just have a private jet. It's obscene, but there you go. And he says he's one away from Michael, so beat it. He's very clear that he's chasing after Michael Jackson. And it's a great track, and we're just going to keep going here. Track 7 is another ad. IDGAF stands for I Don't Give an F, featuring Yeet. A cool, weird, futuristic 80s beat. This is that kind of screamo, Playboi Carti, Whole Lotta Red style. Drake is just hard and good, and has a weird verse where he talks about Danny McBride and Eastbound and Down. I stay on the O like a bagel. I was playing this for my family. And just, we're all working. My wife's been fixing up this whole room, putting up shelves and all this stuff. Like, did he just say bagel? But he's great. And this is that whole thing about him showing people off. Yeet has a pretty big audience, but this is going to enlarge his audience. And if people like Yeet here, they're going to like Yeet somewhere else. And he's dynamic and screaming and crying and put up a check on my neck, and then I check in the head. I signed for a couple of milli, only touched 100,000. Goes on and on. He has like this, he is sort of a chameleon as well. It is hard to figure out like who the real Yeet is. There's sort of a pretty fair claim to say he's just a suburban kid who is appropriating art to make money. And then there's another good claim that he's just a real artist and we need to respect him. I'm not going to make a determination on that, except to say that he's a good rapper and he does this style really well. And it works really well with Drake. This is what I'm talking about, okay? Like, this is good. It is good that this exists. It is not bad that this exists. So let's just accept that the next track is a skip. 7969 Santa, new age parlor, massage parlor, synthesizers, dreamy, he's asleep, and piano, and dogs may be dogs, who cares? I like this like weird sample of like shit I don't like, which is fine. And then Snoop comes on here and does BARK as a radio station number. That doesn't make any sense because no radio station starts with BARK, so have it be WBRK or KBRK, but it can't be BARK. That can't be a radio. Even you knew that, and W balls, but whatever, it's fine. It's fun having a sneak little cameo here. Next track is Slime You Out featuring SZA, and that's another skip. I don't care that SZA released one of the best albums this year. This is boring. He's boring talking about you bitches, and she's boring talking about you N-words, and singing over and over again, sliming you out. This is that slang thing where we're going to look back and be like, I guess people said that back then. It's so boring. It's like this war of the sexes. Like, how many songs have we heard where it's like, you B-words are like this, you N-words are like that, I don't do it. And there's a certain part where Drake starts going through the calendar, and he says January, and I'm like, okay, maybe he's just talking about January. And then when he gets into February, I was on the elliptical at the gym, and I let out a because I knew I have to make it through the whole fucking alphabet, the whole calendar year. January, February, March, just make it stop. April, May, okay, I got it. You don't have to do 3 verses based on this thin idea. Just bad. Just bad. Just bad. God damn it. The next track's not very good either. Skip Bahama Promises. I can't even listen to the song in my house. There's so many dogs barking. It's sort of interesting. There is an interesting aspect to this album where it's about this relationship that didn't work, and you put the no in monogamy. Corny and good at the same time. And then we get to a great track. Tried Our Best. Now, you might be following along and go, Skye's going to skip Try My Best because he doesn't like singy Drake. But that's not true. Singy Drake can be great. It's just singy, boring, bored Drake I don't like. This is great. It's still the auto-tune singing over this warbled guitar, but this beautiful opening verse about this relationship. I swear there's a list of places I've been with you, I want to go without you, just so I know what it's like to be there without having to argue. Have you ever been in a relationship like that? I have. In a relationship where we just fight and fight and fight and fight. Fight. The Me and My Ex show. Like, we've all been there. And this is a great way to put it. There's something very true about this song. He talks about being on a Zoom call with his therapist. Like, there's something true and deep about this real human relationship. And this is why Drake is so frustrating. Because he can have good raps and then he can have crappy raps. He can have just terrible, boring, like, all you want is my money and we're going to go on a jet. Boring BS. And he can also have this really interesting song that I think will actually help people in their lives to contextualize relationships with toxic people or just being in a toxic relationship. I hate to go all Greg Turkington, but the one thing this song needs, the one thing that keeps this song from getting 5 bags of popcorn, is that it needs Ty Dolla $ign. There's a like, is he in the background? The way that the chorus is sung, it's made for Ty Dolla $ign. Okay, we just need to get him in here, and then we get to Screw the World. Okay, Screw the World is like, I'm gonna be honest, it's my favorite song on the album. It's only because I'm a big fan of the history. I'm a big fan of the screwed up style. If you don't know, in Houston there was a guy named DJ Screw who pioneered. He wasn't the first guy, but he was the guy who really pioneered and popularized the art of taking songs and slowing them down on cassette tapes to both supplement, to add to the sensations you have when drinking too much codeine, or to imitate the feeling of drinking too much codeine. And it creates a very interesting atmosphere. And this is just a straight lift. This is just a straight lift from DJ Screw. DJ Screw playing over the Nas song, If I Ruled the World. And I love it. This is what I'm talking about. If you are just a nobody, just some kid from the suburbs, okay, and you live in the suburbs of Topeka, and you like Drake, and you think it's awesome, and then you have okay taste, but you don't really know anything, and you're 13 years old, and you're super excited because you really liked I'm Too Sexy, and you want to see what Drake does next, and you're starting to understand more about music. In the middle of the song, there's this, like, middle of this album, there's this, like, badass, slowed down, this weird, like, what is this? Well, Drake is telling you. Drake is showing it to you. Drake is actually giving back to Houston. Okay? Props to Drake. And let's just remember, okay? We talk about nepo babies, okay? Just remember, Drake is not even the most influential musician in his own family. His uncle, Larry Graham, invented slap bass, okay? An entire school of bass, an entire stream of funk was invented in his family. Anyways. All right, fine. Drake is probably more influential than his uncle. But it's the kind of thing where we really need to stop and appreciate that. You know, like when we're talking about, like, you know, African American History Month and all that, like when we're talking about like just think about that. Like in one family, the uncle invents a style of bass that is used to this day. And then the nephew is the most popular musician for like 15 straight years. It's wild, right? We're sitting here talking about the Roosevelts, you know? Oh, wow. Oh, did the Kennedys? Oh, did the Kennedys get elected again? Oh, wow. What a magical family. Let's talk about the Grahams, all right? Drew a Picasso. I had such expectations. I have a picture of Robert Doisneau of Picasso, and I was going to bring it in here. And I thought this was going to be a whole Picasso thing, but it's not. It's another skip. Disappointing, boring singing, boring rapping. I do like how he references Harry Potter, and then later he references someone listening to R. Kelly. And both R. Kelly and Harry Potter I'm unable to enjoy because of the reprehensible nature of R. Kelly and J.K. Rowling. I don't think this is intentional. I don't think he's trying to say that you know, that reading Harry Potter or supporting J.K. Rowling is like supporting R. Kelly. But hey, it's there. Next track is another ad, members only, featuring Party Next Door. Cool, like auto tune matched with the other voice. Like it's just Party Next Door's voice goes really well with Drake here. Really gross sex stuff outro, which makes me want to skip it. But his voice is just so nice. And just this repetition, you're too down with the gangy. I only think of Lucille Bluth. I only think of Jessica Walter from Arrested Development, the character who's known as Gangy. Here's, her winking. So I just got a haircut. My eyebrows look super intense with my haircut like this. I look like what's that guy, Colin Farrell? Next track, What Would Pluto Do? This is a real on the line, but I'm going to add this here anyways. This is an ad. This is on my playlist because it has this cool triumphant piano and horn sound. The beat is a little bit different. It's all about, Mickey Mouse's best friend Pluto. He's trying to imagine what would that dog do in... That's my little joke for the day. Obviously, it's Pluto in reference to Future, but Pluto is also a dog, so it's for his dog. There you go. I'm not a fan of him talking about Adonis needs a sister, like talking about having another child with a random woman because he already has a child with a random woman. He seems like, when you can't be tough, be bad. That seems like what he's trying to do. So, like, Drake can't be tough. He tries, and you're just like, I'm afraid of the six. Like, we just, come on, we don't take you seriously. So he's basically like having bad behavior. But there's a really great verse in here. I'm geeking off my pride, lost my Sprite deal because Wayne kept pouring fives. So I guess he lost his Sprite deal because Lil Wayne, who's his label boss, keeps drinking lean, and Sprite doesn't want to be associated with lean. Sprite doesn't like that connection. Sprite hates it. That Future called an album Dirty Sprite. They can't stand all that free advertising and association with the coolest rap guy in the history of the world. You know what I mean? They hate it. Big corporations hate free advertisements from people who are so authentic they cannot be bought or sold in any real way. Anyways, talks about beefing with much older guys. I think he's still on about Kanye, but Kanye and I are the same age, so he must not be talking about him. Before I catch up with them, they probably, and then he doesn't say die. What R.I.P. them F-N words. It's nice. He like leaves a little ellipsis in there. He's like showing some actual rap craft. Next track is All the Parties featuring Chief Keef. Whew, boy, you cannot skip this song quick enough. What? Garbage. Gee, this is like boring 80s wood. It's like trying to be like some kind of like housey deal. It rips off the Pet Shop Boys, East End Boys with West End Girls. And George Clinton makes an appearance on here, I guess sort of matching along with the guest appearance from Snoop Dogg, DJ Pooper Scooper. But the next track is 8 a.m. in Charlotte. Conductor, we have a problem. I love it. Any attention for Conductor Williams is great. Pitched up gospel sounds, nice piano on the beat. The best beat on the album, and it's not close. It's not just because I love Conductor Williams, but it's just that good. Obviously, this is on the playlist. I'm weighing heavy on my moral scale, knowing they're going to sell another Citizen Kane. They think they Orson Welles. So, like, talking about selling crack as being cocaine. So, selling Citizens Kane, Orson Welles, the director of Citizen Kane. It's a pretty good joke. Yeah, it's a pretty good line here. Walking Chanel, they're like, how you need more Chanel. The restaurant clears out. Faint echoes of Lauryn Hill. I say, we got to talk about us. I feel like Jordan Peele. Kind of goofy, fun, weird, smart, well-developed similes here. Goes on about movies. Your words don't match your actions, like a foreign film. And now it's Silence of the Lamb, like the Silence in the Lamb, like the horror film, like Lambo's. Like, this is one of those verses where you're like, did he write it? Did Drake write this? And listen, if he didn't write it, it doesn't matter. At this point, Drake is more similar to a director than he is an actual creator. He's like putting things together, and he deserves all the credit for that. But I don't know. Hoes waiting on... No, let's see. Savage got a green card straight out the consulate. Where I go, you go, brother. We Yugoslavian. As you know, my wife is Yugoslavian, so that makes me basically Yugoslavian. That's a pretty funny, goofy line here. Formal is the dress code. I write so many checks owed. I feel Czechoslovakian. Funny thing there. 18 is BBL Love. I actually broke my finger hitting the double arrows on this song. There's this soulful sound. And then he's just the first line, bust that pussy open for a real one. And he talks about Brazilian butt lifts. And it's so unpleasant and just so bad. I know. I get it. Next track is Gently featuring Bad Bunny. Hey, cultural appropriation. Remember I talked about that? So, what the hell is Drake doing playing reggaeton? What the hell is he doing singing in Spanish? What the hell is he doing? Singing in Spanish is fine. Congratulations. Good work. I want more stuff in Spanish. America is a terribly monolingual country, and it deserves shame thrown on it for all of its monolingual tendencies, okay? There's a lot of great things about our country. That is not one of them, okay? At least Drake is from Canada, which respects the importance of bilingualism, even if most of its population is angry about it most of the time. But it's the accent when he's not speaking Spanish, which is just like, he can't keep getting away with this. When are we going to stop Drake? He calls himself Papi Champagne, which is funny because he calls himself Champagne Papi. And then Bad Bunny comes on here. Okay, the 3 best verses on the album, J. Cole, Bad Bunny, Adonis, because Bad Bunny's verse on here, I hate to say it, it's weird, but when he came on, I'm like, wow, now here's a real superstar. Now, obviously, Drake is a real superstar, but like, there's something about the ease and the of Bad Bunny that just blew me away on this. And he's just mixing together Spanish and English. I think he's consciously doing this because he knows it's going to be mostly English speakers listening, so they'll be able to pick up some stuff. Me puse balaco cuando la escuché, decirme papi adentro y la Porsche, fuck mami, holy shit, que rico tu chinga. Je las pollos me piden bicho, la cubana quieren pinga. Fuck me so good, me dice la gringa, mami te pasa. So there's like, I don't speak fully fluent Spanish from, Puerto Rico or Dominican Republic, whatever. It's Puerto Rico, right? Ooh, Jesus Christ. I can't look it up because I'm recording my phone. Tell me in the comments if I'm wrong. Or is he Dominican? I think he's Puerto Rican, right? It's a super important thing. Well, if you're this far in the video, I've won your good faith, so you can tell me in the comments. Whatever it is, I don't fully understand all these words, but I basically understand the idea. Next track is called Rich Baby Daddy. Back to sort of a house mode, which is nice. It's okay. Like, this is a skip. I'm not going to put this in there, but I sort of like what Sexy Red's doing here. It's just, there's only so much you can hear someone about shaking their ass and popping their coochie. It's just a little boring, a little bit repetitive. And the real question is sometimes you have is, can you shift the zeitgeist just by annoying people to death? Sometimes I get the sense that's what Drake is trying to do. Next track is Another Late Night. That's another ad, another great song featuring Lil Yachty, co-produced by Lil Yachty. And the funny thing is about this is, in the back there, those are Besta made by IKEA. And so my wife asked me, hand me the box of Besta. And so I start singing Best of My Love by The Emotions. Oh, whoa, you got the best of my love. So what I ended up doing was I played that song. So we were listening just to Drake, and then I played that song. And that was not fair to Drake. Because Best of My Love, I was singing, I was dancing, and my baby was there, and I was making my baby laugh because I was singing and doing little disco dancing, and all over the living room, Best of My Love, oh, whoa. And it was a harsh reminder that, like, part of the problem with this whole thing that Drake does is just, it's that punishing feeling of where it feels like it's work to get back to it. So I had to listen to this. I had to pause Drake and come back to it a little bit later. And this is really a great track. It's great because it's a little bit screamo, kind of weirdo, psychotic stuff. This nice beep at the end of the expression. It's weird that he addresses the Millie Bobby Brown thing. I don't have an opinion on that, but it's weird. Whatever it is, it's weird. Like, he's just a weird guy. But I really like the chorus in this song where Drake is saying, it's another night with my bitch, just another late night with my bitch. And he says, but I don't even like to call her that. So, like, there's like a weird sort of complexity and niceness there. Then we get to the next track. Oh, and Lil Yachty's fine. It's just hard because Lil Yachty was so good on his album that having him just be sort of like normal Yachty as opposed to like 2023 Yachty. Next one is called Away From Home. This is my favorite track on the album. I said it. This right here. This is again co-produced by Lil Yachty and by Justin Raisin, who did most of the Lil Yachty album that was so good. This great, like, kind of rage rap stuff with this nice low sub bass, and it's all about remembering. This is Drake's best rapping on here. Give a fuck if they remember. I was in the cold, windows froze. I was sleeping in the whip trying to get a grip. I remember. And then this whole poor little rich boy chorus. This don't feel like home anymore. It's just walls, doors, and floors that only I can afford. I remember when it used to mean more. Mean more. Sort of like when Mr. Burns misses Bobo. Speaking of Citizen Kane, when Mr. Burns misses Bobo, the richest man in Springfield, and he just wants to get his little stuffed bear back, because that was a reminder of the older times. I'm clowning on him. But I understand it. The wealth is an alienating thing. His great wealth, even though he's so proud of it, is an alienating thing. And he's remembering these other times. And he's doing it really well with interesting raps over a very interesting beat. Like, this is the only beat I would say it's like on the same level as that Conductor beat. I remember fighting over Monica with Jason. I remember only knowing Andre and Jason. I remember buying all the iceberg from Jason. That's 3 different Jasons. My life feel like the Matrix. Not only are his albums like too long, when he lets out little bits of truth, you're like, oh, the real Drake. There's got to be 3 different Jasons. This has to be a real story. It's too boring to rhyme the word Jason with Jason a couple times. Like, this really shows how small his world is. How many Jasons has Drake met in the last 15 years since being famous? I talk about it quite often. Mick Jagger says that, I believe it's Mick Jagger. It's either Mick Jagger or Paul McCartney, says that being famous is just meeting people. Like, that's all you do when you're famous, because everyone wants to meet you and you don't want to meet anybody. So all you're doing is just going around meeting people. How many people has Drake met named Jason? And then he has the most insightful verse. So this is what I'm going to say. Verses on this album. This verse from Drake. I think this is the best verse on the entire album, because it fits the album. Away From Home by Drake. Then J. Cole. Then Bad Bunny. Then Adonis. And then the rest of Drake's verses. Who give a fuck? Michelle Obama put you on her playlist. Then we never hear from you again, like you was taken. Who's the CEO of Universal they mistaken? Because Google saying Lucian, but that just don't make sense. Who filling up the piggy bank? Who bringing home the bacon? That shit don't come on vinyl, but I'm still record breaking. He's literally calling out the CEO, Lucian Grange, I believe is his last name, of not being the CEO of Universal, because he's so powerful and such a monolith and so able to control the music industry that he is the real CEO of Universal. And of course he isn't, okay? But if Kevin Feige came out and said, who's the CEO of Disney? If in 2020 he came out and said, who's the CEO of Disney? What, Bob Iger? No, it's me. I'm Marvel, okay? I'm Marvel, motherfuckers. I'm the one who makes you all this money. I'm the one who does all this, right? Like, that's the kind of power that Drake has at Universal. So it's simultaneously the worst, misunderstanding of how little power he has, because he's not. Lucian Grange is the CEO. The stockholders of Universal are they are the people who determine what you do. The reason that your album is 23 songs long and 12 songs too long and an hour too long is because the shareholders of Universal demand it. And Lucian Grange demands that those shareholders get what they want. Drake, you have no power. Okay, you have no power. But at the same time, it's great that he's trying to make the power of the artist. And that's the world that we wish we could live in. Everybody wishes they could be George Lucas, right? If you don't remember, George Lucas for episode 1. Okay? The movie came out from 20th Century Fox. 20th Century Fox got 10 cents per dollar. That is how gangster George Lucas was. That is an artist having control. Anyways, but still, it's very interesting stuff. The album ends with Polar Opposites. This is what I wrote. So, hey, they can't all be winners. So there's my review of the album. I'm not going to buy it on vinyl, but these are my Patreons, and they give me money so that I can buy music that I like. And the thing is, I do like this album. If this album came out and it was a $40 vinyl of just these 12 songs that I like, I'd buy that in a heartbeat. But that's not what you get with Drake. And what you learn from Drake is what you learn from a lot, is about the state of the music business right now. Okay, well, I think my baby is waking up from her nap. I'm getting ready to release this. I'm excited to talk about Earl Sweatshirt coming up next. And maybe I'm going to play a little bit of FIFA. Allez, l'OM. There's the camera.